Morning, Joe, and the pro take three, because the first take I forgot to record. The second take I forgot to put my mic. Now we're on the third take. I've got a miserable Marco who's shaking his head going, can't you get anything right, Prez? And of course, Drew, who matched his shirt to his eyes. I mean, he's not fussed. He'll do 100 takes. But the big man is miserable. Come on, Marco, smile for us, baby.
I'm trying to squeeze your show in between radio spot at 8 a.m. this morning to 8:30. Then we got a podcast I do with Gil Alexander.
Okay, so you know what? Why don't we stop talking?
Hey, that's a good idea.
And get to it. Marco, let's do a promo quick. You're absolutely rolling. 65% in the NBA all year, which is ridiculous. And you went 5-0 in NFL.
And the week before, we went 3-0 on Sunday. So it's been a great run with the NFL. Promo code MD59. It's simple. 7 days, you're going to get everything. The NBA, college basketball, the bowl games, the NFL. 7 days, $59. MD59. Coupon code will be active through Friday.
There you go. Let's get right into this. I just want to quickly say sorry about no show yesterday, guys. No Morning Joe or Puck Time. I had an emergency root canal. I had a rough week. I drank some coffee yesterday before I sat down to do Morning Joe. The heat was so painful. I keeled over, called my dentist, and demanded an emergency root canal. Now I'm all drugged up, but I'm ready to go. Marco, let's start right off the bat. Wisconsin, Miami, both these teams had such high hopes coming into the season. Now they're playing in the We Screwed Up Bowl. Wisconsin +3. Where are we going?
Yeah, we're going to take Wisconsin into points here. Miami of Florida, they had visions of competing for a national championship. And now instead you get to go to New York in December, warm weather team. I don't think so. We're going to go ahead, take the ground and pound attack of Wisconsin plus the points. I think they'll be able to dominate the line of scrimmage. And the thing with Wisconsin down the stretch, what hurt them in their last 3 games, Prez, 9 turnovers. If they keep the game clean, they beat Miami here. I'll take them plus the points, Wisconsin.
Drew, the Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl, Vandy -4. The over and under is 55.5. Both these teams are 4-6 ATS in their last 10. What do you like in this game?
Baylor, their best player, wide receiver Jalen Hurd, a next level guy. He's out. Vanderbilt, I think like Marco just touched on, they'll be able to control the line of scrimmage on both sides. Vanderbilt ended the season covering 5 straight games, all against SEC teams there. I think that they're hitting kind of their stride, a little bit extra preparation time. I think favors Vandy as well. I'm on the Commodores, and I like them just to cover this short spread, just over a field goal, Prez.
There you go. Purdue and Auburn, Marco. Auburn at -3.5. They're playing Purdue. Purdue did have one signature game this year. They beat Ohio State. Since then, why don't you finish it?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. That was their signature game, and that was when Ohio State wasn't playing good and was giving up points left and right. You look down the stretch, losses to Michigan State by 10. They lose to Minnesota. How do you lose to Minnesota by 31 points? They are a 6-6 bowl team, and historically 6-6 bowl teams that are dogs have performed well. But you also have Auburn that had an embarrassing loss last year. They were a complete no-show against Central Florida. If you remember, they played the SEC championship game last year where they lost to Georgia. Deflating loss because they were 1 game away for playing in the playoffs for the national championship, and they were flat. I think they come to play here, and if they do, they are the much better team. I'll take Auburn at the short number.
Drew, the Camping World Bowl, we've got line movements galore. It's likely because, well, it's not likely, but Will Grier is out. Over and under 74. It's now down to 67, and Syracuse went from a +6.5 to a +1. Look, I like the over still in this football game. Where do you go?
Yeah, what West Virginia finished the season 5 straight overs, and they pushed the number 4 team in the country, Oklahoma, all the way to the brink. That was all with Will Grier, as you touched on, Prez. He's out. Obviously, a big deal to do with this line move. I agree with it. And even at this point, we get a lot of volatility in bowl season. So I'm liking the Dino Babers side, Syracuse. I think they'll be able to push the pace with Dungy at the quarterback position. I think at this point they do have the better quarterback. So I agree with the market here, Prez, and I would venture to be on the orange. Haven't pulled the trigger yet, though.
Okay, my friend Marco, the Valera Alamo Bowl, Iowa State versus Washington State. Washington State 8-2 ATS. Same with Iowa State. Both teams have been free money if you bet them from the start to the finish. -3 and a hook for Washington State. The over and under 54. What do you want to do here?
I'm going to look to the dog. And, Prez, we look and say, who wants to be here? Washington State, great season. They had those 2 losses. They cost them the season. They had an opportunity the last game of the season to play in the Pac-12 championship game, but they lost on their home field to their arch rival, Washington. Now, most people say, okay, well, they bounce back here. I don't think so. Everybody looks at the Big 12 and they look at the teams and they, no defense. Iowa State was a team that flew under the radar. Their defense was very good this season, actually ranked 31st in the country out of 130 teams. And most teams in the Big 12 can't even spell defense. I'll take the better defense here, grabbing some points. Well, not actually the better defense. Washington State played well too, but Iowa State was the best defense in the Big 12. I'll take them plus the points.
Going against the money, Marco. Washington State was -6. Oh, no, going with the money. Drugs.
Wonderful thing, aren't they, Prez?
Oh, my God. Yesterday I had laughing gas in the chair because I couldn't deal with the needle. Yeah, I know. I'm a baby. I was spinning, dude. Oh, my. I actually saw all the bowl games play out in front of me. And one of them was the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and I saw Michigan lay the smackdown on Florida. -7, Drew. 50.5. Man, again, both teams money this year. Florida 8-2 ATS, Michigan 9-1. I had Michigan in my laughing gas dream, winning by 17 in this game. Where are you going?
We're on Michigan, Florida. Okay. Breaking this one down, because I had my notes on a different one coming in here, Prez, but the quarterback position is, you would think Shea Patterson's a lot better quarterback, but when you look at touchdown to interception, yards ratio, it's really not that big of a change. So I would actually kind of go opposite of you here, Prez, and it scares me because you were all drugged up, probably seeing it correctly. But
yeah, because you see everything correctly when you're drugged up.
Exactly. But I like Florida's defense here. And I think that, Harbaugh, extra time to prepare, Dan Mullen, extra time to prepare. I'll choose Dan Mullen. And I think caliber of athlete, especially on the defensive front side. They did get carved up by Drew Lock, but Shea Patterson's not Drew Lock. I don't think he's as accurate with the football. So I'll take the defensive front from Florida over the defensive front from Michigan. I know that that's not what a lot of people would say. That's how I would do it. So I'd be on the Gators here, Prez.
He's Drew Martin. You can find him at sportsmemo.com. One of the best around. He does like 7 to 10 podcasts a week. And the other guy is Marco D'Angelo, my partner and co-founder of WagerTalk.com, but a really annoying individual, at least on Tuesdays. I try to stay away from you on Tuesdays. And when I say Tuesdays, I actually mean any day that ends with the word day.
Oh, okay. All right.
Marco.
You should check out the Santa Claus video yesterday. He got your letter for what you wanted for Christmas.
Oh, well, I will for sure check it out. I listen, every day is Christmas for me. I'm divorced. Touchdown! South Carolina UVA. +5 for Virginia, my friend. Over and under 53.5. Small line moves. Where are we going in the Belk Bowl?
Yeah, this one, first glance, you're going to look at this one and you're going to see Virginia, and you're going to look at the last two games and say, hey, they were +6 against Georgia Tech, only lose by a field goal. Then you're going to look at the Virginia Tech rivalry game. They were -5.5. They were winning that game. Virginia Tech made a big comeback and went into overtime and win it. The money's going to look to go to Virginia with the live dog. I don't like them. This is a team that down the stretch lost 3 of their 4 games. They keep finding ways to lose. The only game they won down the stretch was Liberty. They were a 25-point favorite, and they beat Liberty. I'm not impressed with them. I'm going to go with South Carolina. This is a team that when they show up, they've played well. But they've had some stinkers during the year. They were shut down completely by Kentucky, was a big surprise in the SEC this year. And then, of course, they got railroaded by Clemson. But what I do like in that Clemson loss, they put up 35 points against a good Clemson defense. I think they've got more talent than Virginia. I'll lay the points in this one. And generally, I look to grab points. But this is one where I am on the favorite.
Drew, we're like 11 minutes into this thing, and I just scrolled down. There must be about 700 bowl games. I mean, this is ridiculous. But anyway, let's talk about the Nevada-Arkansas State game. Nova home loans Arizona Bowl. 7-3 Arkansas State ATS, 6-4 for Nevada. The line has barely moved. Nevada is +1. 68% of the money has come in on Nevada so far. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, this is a little bit tricky of a handicap. We got the Sun Belt versus the Mountain West. Not a lot of interaction between these two conferences. Something that scares me with the Nevada side is San Diego State really laid an egg last night against Ohio.
I had Ohio.
Yeah, I great pick there, Prez. What did you see in that game? Because I didn't like the Ohio side.
Let's not talk about the way I handicap. It's a trade secret.
Arkansas State won 4 straight down the stretch ATS and straight up, and it was a team that talent-wise came into the season arguably the most talented team in the Sun Belt, and they were just all over the place. Justin Hansen wasn't the quarterback that he's been in past years. I think you get the better quarterback with the Nevada side, so I'm going to kind of shred that San Diego State loss and go to back the Mountain West team here. I like Nevada, even though they did lose against UNLV in a kind of head-scratching loss there to end the season.
Okay, boys, we got 17 minutes, and then Marco has to go do a podcast for who?
Gil Alexander, the NFL Megapod. Been doing it for like 6 years.
Okay, you're boring me. Guys, make sure to head over to WagerTalk.com for Marco D'Angelo. Use the promo code MD59. You get a week of all of Marco's plays, every single sport for $59. I don't know how you could not use that. Marco is rolling in everything. 8-0 in NFL in his last 2 Sundays. 65% in NBA. Next week, Drew will make the show about you. But we are finally at 2 real bowls. Like actual bowls. Like not nonsense that people just make up out of nowhere. But with that said, semifinals, man. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's what it is. It's the semifinals. Both double-digit favorites. It's a shame. It's a shame that the bookmakers are expecting blowouts in both these games. Clemson minus 12.5 against Notre Dame. The over and under is 55. Let's start with you, Marco. What do you like?
Well, looking at this Clemson-Notre Dame game, nobody's giving Notre Dame a shot in this game. Everybody's looking at Clemson. Notre Dame is, of the 4 teams, that's the team that people say doesn't belong. Georgia's a better team than Notre Dame. And if you put Notre Dame and Georgia on a neutral field, I agree with them. But Notre Dame's undefeated, and because of the contracts they have, they're always going to be in this battle. So they get to play the old disrespect card in this game. And I think they get it done. Clemson hasn't faced an offense as good as Notre Dame's all year. They've had a soft schedule, and Notre Dame can throw the football. Since they switched quarterbacks, this team has changed dramatically for Notre Dame. I like them here, plus the points. Do they win the game? I don't say that they can get through the Clemson team. This team's been there and done that. But I think this game's going to be much closer than the betting public thinks and what the Vegas odd makers think. I'll take the plus points with Notre Dame. Should be an exciting game. We'll see it happen. We'll see if Notre Dame could actually pull the upset. But I think everybody thinks it's going to be Alabama, Clemson, part, 92, it seems like, how many times these teams have played.
Drew, because again, this is one of the meaningful games. What is your opinion on this game?
I agree with Marco. I think Notre Dame's the side here. I would buck the kind of trend from everybody taking Clemson here. One point that Marco touched on earlier in an earlier bowl game is Clemson let up over 500 yards passing to Bentley and South Carolina's offense. That's scary going against Ian Book. Like Marco said, since they made the change, they've been a over-trender and also cashing money for their backers. So I would look for that to change here. I don't know about picking them outright as a double-digit dog, but I do like Notre Dame. I think there's a little bit of value on the points, so I'm on the Irish, Prez.
He's Drew. We got Marco with us. I'm the Prez. It's Morning Joe and the Pro. Marco, are you going to do tomorrow's show with me? Some NFL? That's a yes.
Okay.
Alabama, Drew, Alabama, minus 14. Absolutely massive total, largely because Oklahoma is a scoring machine. What do you like in this game?
You know what? I'm going to start it off with, the quarterbacks that have beaten Nick Saban in big-time games. Who are they? Johnny Manziel, Cam Newton, Deshaun Watson, all making plays with their feet. I think we get that here with Kyler Murray. Also, if Oklahoma gets behind, as long as it's not a blowout like we have seen, and it's possible, I think that back door could be open. Obviously, Oklahoma is going to be up against it defensively. We've seen it all year. But they have made a change at the defensive coordinator position, getting the extra preparation time. I think that they're going to be, turnover centric. Yeah, they're going to give up touchdowns, but they're also going to go for turnovers. If a couple of those bounce their way, Oklahoma could be in this. I think the Sooners plus 2 full touchdowns. I think that's the side here, Prez.
I agree 100%. Marco, what are your thoughts?
To be honest with you, right now I'm on the fence in this game, and I'm going to tell you the one angle.
Man, that better be a sturdy fence.
All right, here it comes. Oh, Prez, I gave you a nice softball. I laid that one up for you. Good. You're not on enough drugs to miss that one. But here's the thing, guys. Drew, he's not old enough to remember this angle, but way back in the day, Prez, remember the Heisman jinx? The guy that wins the Heisman, you always bet against them.
Yep.
Now, in the last 10 years, that's kind of gone by the wayside. It's been a moot point. I think it might be 500. But I don't know that I ever remember the Heisman winner playing in the bowl game against the Heisman runner-up. So you got a little added motivation. Not that you need any more motivation in this game for Alabama, but all year, Tua was the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman. And then because of the last 2 games, with all of the points and everything that Murray put up, he got the vote. Look at it. The reason he got the vote is Oklahoma's defense is pathetic. They had to keep scoring. He was on the field throwing because they had to. Tua, until the last couple games of the season, didn't even play the fourth quarters. They had the games under wraps. I want to see what he does against an Alabama or an Oklahoma defense for 4 full quarters. Right now, if you ask me to play something, this is a playoff game, and you think of Alabama, you think defense and everything. They haven't faced anybody like this, and Drew was spot on with the mobile quarterbacks being problems for Alabama. Might take a look at the over. I haven't decided on the side yet.
Okay, brother, let's move at 100 miles an hour because you've got a podcast. Cincinnati at Virginia Tech. Cincy's minus 5.5. A 10-2 record on the season against a Virginia Tech team that started off so well and ended so badly. otherwise known as Marco's sex life.
Well, at least you didn't say it ended quickly if you're going to talk about the sex life. Okay. All right. Virginia Tech. This is one I'm going to go with Ralph's angle here. This is a 6-6 team that comes in here getting points, and it has been a disappointing season. They had key injuries, lost the quarterback. I'm going to look for Virginia Tech to bounce back, and this is a vote for Justin Fuentes. I like him. I loved when he was at Memphis, made a lot of money with him. Give him extra prep time for the bowl game. I'll go ahead. And by the way, he knows the Cincinnati team. That's when he was at Memphis, he played this team all the time. I like Virginia Tech.
Drew, the Hyundai Sun Bowl, Stanford at -6 against Pitt. And, at a quick glance, these teams are not in the same league. Stanford, I feel, is a much better team than Pitt. The question is, are they going to cover the 6?
Prez, they're not in the same league, in different conferences.
Okay,
but
funny one, haha.
Stanford isn't all that great. The Pac-12 hasn't been all that great this year either. They're also banged up coming into this one. I will say this, Prez, I'm very non-confidently saying take the points in Pitt, but this is one of my least confident sides, so I'll just be short on it.
Look at the injury list for Stanford of all the guys that are either sitting out or have an injury undisclosed. It's not a good situation for Stanford. But Pitt is overmatched if Stanford was at full strength.
Okay, Marco, let's get to the Red Box Bowl. I don't know what the hell Red Box is, but I'm guessing it's
You've never rented a DVD? In the store, they don't have that.
There's DVDs in America?
Yeah, all the grocery stores as you're walking out, there's a box.
That exists still?
And you can just you pull it out of the machine. It's a self-serve.
Yeah, I know what it is, dude. I remember from 20 years ago. My God, are you people behind?
No, 20 years ago was Blockbuster, okay?
Yeah, I invested all my money in Blockbuster.
You had a good thing for a few years, like Bitcoin. You had a nice run, and then it went, woo!
Bitcoin's not over yet. Michigan State +3 against Oregon. We got a team that scores against a team that doesn't know how to spell score. Oregon -3 over and under 48, which is super low for Oregon and super high for MSU.
It is. This is one of those games, Prez, where the numbers tell you should be on Oregon because of everything you said with the offense and that. How is Michigan State going to be able to keep up with them? This is one of those ones where you ever just get a gut feel, you look at the number and it tells you something's off in this game, and that tells me I should be looking at Michigan State in the points here. I don't trust Oregon for whatever reason. Michigan State has been a horrible year for them, but they're in the bowl game. They got a chance to end their season on a high note, building to next year. I'll go ahead and take Michigan State in this one.
Drew, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Missouri versus Oklahoma State, huge total as expected, 74.5. Oklahoma State is at +8. My gut's telling me to take the points.
I'm with you. As far as the side goes, Prez, I think, Gungy and company getting the points is the side. You got a motivated team. A walk-on quarterback leading the group. I like that. Profile-wise, both of these two teams, very similar, going to go up and down the field. It's tough to recommend an over in the mid-70s right now because we're still a week out. So weather-wise, I'd want to make sure it's still going to be clear. But if all set up correctly, I think both of these offenses dominate the opposing units. So I like the over as the play here, Prez.
Excellent, brother. Marco, Utah -7 against Northwestern. This should be a snooze fest. It should be at 9 a.m. so you could wake up, watch 5 minutes of it, and then go back to bed. The over and under is 46. Where do we go?
I'm going to look to Utah in this game. Utah has an outstanding defense, and everybody's going to bring up the stat with Northwestern of how good they've been as a dog. The dog in Northwestern games until the final two games of the final game of the season was the way to go. They haven't seen anything like Utah's. They're ranked 14th in the nation, the Utah defense, allowing just 4.6 yards per play. They are coming off a gut-wrenching loss in the Pac-12 championship. They should be playing in the Rose Bowl. So that is the only concern for me, but I like Utah in this game.
Drew, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, Texas A&M -6.5 against NC State. 58.5 is the total. Both teams are 7-3 ATS in their last 10. What do we do here?
Yeah, but both of these two teams, I had a bet on Mark going into this, and so to see these two teams matched up against each other side-wise kind of pissed me off a little bit. Profile-wise, again, similar teams. I think caliber of athlete, I would give it a little bit towards Texas A&M, plus the recruiting class they just pulled in yesterday on signing day. Some of these kids are probably going to be motivated to keep their jobs next year. Going into the bowl game, extra prep time. I think coaching-wise, it's very similar. I guess I would give it to the guy with the national championship ring on his hand. But so that would lean me towards Texas A&M side-wise. Weather depending, again, this one in Jacksonville. I think both defenses are going to get after it, both with good defensive fronts and get after the opposing quarterback. So I might look towards under here at 58.5, Prez.
Marco, the Outback Bowl is perfectly placed. Everyone will be drunk off their butt all night long. Then we start with a game that will put us right back to sleep. Iowa versus Mississippi, over and under is 44. This game has 2-0 written all over it. Iowa is +7. What do we do?
We take Iowa +7. We got two good defensive teams in this one, and we've got a big number with a small total. Points are going to come at a premium. You're giving me 7 points. I'll go ahead and take it with Iowa. They didn't play well down the stretch, but they had a stretch there where they played 4 road games in a 5-week stretch. That was just a murderous schedule for Iowa. Extra prep time. I think this one goes right to the wire.
You know, in our last bowl preview show, we had a comment up on YouTube that said they loved the show but hated the host. Couldn't agree more. PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, Drew, UCF +7. This team is undefeated in about 5 years of play. They made a ridiculous comeback in their last game. They are getting no respect, but they haven't played anybody to earn that respect. Now they're playing a good LSU team. What do we do here?
Prez, you can't keep them out of the bowl playoff, but they're in the New Year's Six here, going up against LSU. I'll tell you, Prez, I'm on the UCF Knights, man. I like
agree.
this team. I like them a lot. They're coming in motivated. The backup quarterback, whatever, redshirt freshman, 6'3", 220, can run, can throw. He proved it. He's got extra preparation time, an angle I like going into bowl games. You get a young quarterback that just got his playing time. Now he gets, 15 extra practices. Good coaching staff there for UCF. Watch for this UCF offense to really be throwing it around on point. LSU, motivation questions. I really don't think that they have the better quarterback. Yeah, they're the SEC team, caliber of athlete, maybe, but we saw it last year against Auburn in the bowl game. UCF took it to them. These guys are fast. This isn't, some MAC team or anything like that. They're getting 3 4-star caliber athletes. They're not getting the respect. They got that chip on their shoulder. I like UCF, and you know what, Prez? On top of that, I'd sprinkle a little something on the money line. I like them to win outright.
Me as well, Drew. Great stuff. Marco, I know you got to go. Do you want to do the last game or just want to get off the show and Drew and I can finish it?
Let's go ahead and do this. Let's do this game because I do have an opinion on this one with Kentucky Penn State.
Yeah, so there we go, brother. And Kentucky, outstanding year. They were right in it right up until the end. A 9-3 season, which is, pretty good for them. Penn State, they've got to be slightly upset. This was a better team than their record. Both 7-3 ATS. Penn State's a -6 and a hook favorite. What do we do?
I take the dog. This Kentucky team flew under the radar all year. This defense is good. They're the little guys in the SEC. with all those powerhouses there. The way they held teams, Mississippi State they held to 7, South Carolina to 10, Texas A&M to 20, Vandy, Missouri, both 7 and 14. Missouri, explosive offense this year, and they went on the road and held them to 14. And you talk about motivation. Kentucky is ecstatic to be in this bowl game. This is a New Year's Day 6, so it is a big bowl game. But for Penn State, they came in once again with hopes of being in the national championship, and that ended when they had that just horrible ending to the Ohio State game. If Franklin somehow gets them motivated, they have the better offense, but this defense is amazing for Kentucky. You give me the better defense, getting points, Prez, that's where I'm at all the time. I got to run with the Kentucky Wildcats.
Okay, brother, you get out of here. Drew and I will finish the last 2 games. Always a pleasure working with you. And I have a killer podcast with Gil Alexander from Wiesen.
Yes, no problem. And I just want to give a Merry Christmas to all of our viewers. We wouldn't be able to do this stuff without you guys and your support and the way you watch these videos, all of our stuff that we have on our YouTube channel. And like I said, we put up 14 videos yesterday, special guest appearance by Santa Claus in 4 of them. If you want some information and some laughs, you got to check them out.
Thanks, buddy.
Take care,
Be
guys.
well.
All right, Marco. Merry Christmas to you, man.
You too, Drew.
Okay, Drew, let's talk Ohio State. Here's a team that messed up once, and it was against Purdue. Now they're minus 6.5 against Washington. And here's another team. I mean, both these teams came in with playoff aspirations at the beginning of the season. Washington's went down early, first game of the season. Over and under is 58 here, Drew. And, I like the over. It's a small number to me for an Ohio State team that from an offense perspective is almost unstoppable.
I don't have as much on the total, Prez, and I'll say this. If you want to see my full analysis, I wrote up a free play on sportsmemo.com, a lot of free content up there, so go check that out. But, just in summary, Prez, I like the Ohio State side, and I like them big. I gave it out at 6. It's now 6.5. Some 7s starting to pop up in the marketplace. I think they're the more talented team. They got the better quarterback. I think, quarterback for Washington, Jake, he's not that good, man. He's been there for, 3 or 4 years, been starting the winningest quarterback in the Pac-12. But he hasn't progressed very well, Prez. His accuracy is off. He doesn't throw the ball downfield very well. We saw it against Utah. They won the Pac-12. There was a questionable call at the end. I think Utah, you could argue, was actually the stronger team. And so we can use that all to our advantage here. Ohio State, like you just touched on, they had one slip up on the road, and it kind of got away from them, snowballed on them, if you will. So Haskins throwing the ball around. I think they really take it to Washington here. It's one of my favorite plays of bowl season, under a touchdown. Ohio State, stronger team, stronger conference. I think they take it to Washington, Prez. I like Ohio State big.
Okay, my brother, last game on the card, the All-State Sugar Bowl, UGA 11-2. Jesus, they got to be so disappointed. I mean, they had the playoffs in their grasp. They're playing Texas. It's a big, look, I would bet UGA all day long, except the number is slightly high, and Texas has shown some moxie all year. I don't know what to do. I mean, there's no way I'm betting Texas.
Yeah, I mean, motivation is always a tricky handicap, Prez, and at this type of number, 13, I don't like motivation being a question mark here with Georgia, a couple plays away from being in the playoffs. I would look more towards the total. I think both offenses, have propensity to throw the ball deep. Both quarterbacks, I like their deep ball, so the big plays might be in action here. Sitting at 58, I kind of like the over here, Prez. Pace-wise, it should get there. It's always a tricky handicap as far as what they will change offensively. But quarterback questions on the Georgia side with Fields opening up his recruitment. I wouldn't take that too much into effect, and offensively, I would still look for them to push the pace after that. So I would lean towards the over here, Prez.
He's Drew Martin. I'm the Prez. Marco D'Angelo left us, but he's the co-founder of WagerTalk with me. Drew, thanks so much for being on the show with us. No Morning Joe next week. I'm in Mexico. Have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year, and we'll speak in a couple of weeks, my brother.
All right, Prez, and just last thing, we got a promo code on Sports Memo. It's CBB499. You can get the rest of the college basketball full season through the Final Four for just $499. And when you do that, we'll throw in the rest of the bowl season as well on the house. So that's coupon code CBB499. Merry Christmas to you. Happy Hanukkah to you, Prez. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to everybody out there. Thank you for watching, guys.
Take care, buddy. Thanks.